What's up, tankers, and welcome to First Blood. This is a new series of videos that I'm doing. It's kind of like an overview, first impressions kind of video that I want to do on tanks. I try to keep up with what's going on in the game, at least on the North American server, and just give people ideas and reviews of tanks and stuff like that. But at the same time, I like being very thorough in my reviews, as you may have noticed, which takes a lot of time and effort. And sometimes I'm late with the reviews, so in an effort to kind of like at least give you an idea of what I think of a tank, I'm just doing like one ace tanker, and I kind of hit the high points and let you know what I think about it and stuff like that. So hopefully this video will be useful to somebody. Definitely doing it obviously on the M56 Scorpion, and I have to say this is a very interesting game model. I think they did a pretty cool job, and it's really cool to see all these like little internal bits of the tank and these little hydraulics on the gun and everything, and these little seats. Looks like it would be pretty cramped in here. Look at this. There's like a little, what is that? Is that like a fuel tank or something? I don't know. And what is, oh, there's even like text and everything. Look at that. Warning, engage traverse lock before a moving vehicle. Interesting. And there's your little shovel here, and I guess you don't need to, know where the ammo rack is, because like it's right there. It's cool to see all the little handles on the guns, or on the little shells and everything. Your little auto extinguisher, or maybe it's not an auto extinguisher, little bins and everything. Interesting track design. I really like kind of exploring tank models like this. It's cool, and it looks like it may have rubber tracks, because those look like little nozzles to like fill, or like actual tires, you know what I mean? Anyway, it's enough of that. Let's look at some gameplay, and there's little fuel tanks there. Sorry, I'm just getting really carried away. But yeah, let's go. Alright, so in the spirit of keeping things kind of short and sweet, I'm just going to hit the high points and tell you what I think of this tank and whether or not I think you should buy it. First off, I think it's really good. Actually, like, it's almost as good as a tier 8 in terms of credit earning, just because that gun is so good. It has, well, okay DPM, but it has such great accuracy and such great penetration, especially with the heat ammo, which actually, it has much higher shell velocity than the standard ammunition. It almost like teleports to the target. 275 pen with the heat, but you don't even need it. You see, I don't bring that many because it has about 220 with the standard AP ammo, which is also still pretty high velocity, and it has a really good gun arc, as you can see like in the corner here, and really good gun depression to use it, and it's fairly mobile, really small, good camo. It can get into all sorts of good places and put that gun to work. So this tank, actually, if you're kind of like, I don't know, if you don't have enough money or whatever, and you need something to make a lot of credits and you can't afford a tier 8, this is a good way to go, because in my opinion it makes like almost as many, it's just as effective as making credits, I should say, as tier 8. The multipliers probably aren't the same, but if you know what you're doing, you could do 30,000 damage easy in most games in this tank destroyer, and I really like it. And another reason I really like it is because you have the ability to play aggressively in it. You don't just necessarily have to camp in a bush. And you're probably thinking, like, are you insane? It has no armor and no hit points. Well, I'm talking about like going hull down and stuff, because it's such a very small target. It's hard for enemies to hit you when you're doing that, especially at range, and your aim time and accuracy and penetration is so good you don't even have to sit there for that long. It is, unfortunately, the armor is non-existent. It literally had, like, I think historically it had aluminum armor. So, in effect, it has 0 armor, but in this game they gave it 1mm of armor, because effectively that's the same thing, and it, like, I guess the game engine can't handle 0 armor, but pretty much 0 armor, so there's that. It has pretty good mobility. It's kind of British mobility in that it tops out like around 45 or something like that, but it's also, it gets there really quickly and it stays there. The gun does traverse very slowly, but I think I found, and the tank's a little bit slow in traverse, but not that much. Food consumables are good to use, also gas consumables, but I don't know, I like making money in this tank, so I don't run those. I just run the standard fire extinguisher. If you do take damage, you're going to take a lot of module damage. And here's another thing, this tank can be decent at spotting. Not because it has good view range, it's actually pretty on the low end with 350 meters, but because it's well camouflaged, if you train your camo crew and you have a camo net and binocs, you can like spot enemies while being fairly close to them without them spotting you because you're so stealthy. Um, let's see, what else did I want to say? There's also a lot of really good American tank destroyers. There's two lines full of them, so I think it would be a worthwhile investment if you have any desire to go down those tank lines. Um, it's very snipey as well. I don't know. I like this tank because it's fairly flexible. If I want to push a ridgeline, it's very good at like doing kind of like the ridgeline warrior sort of thing with support, of course. Like if you're on your own, you're probably gonna get taken out pretty quickly. But I have options in this tank. I can do that, or I can just default to hanging back and sniping and sort of spotting as I'm doing here. And this is a pretty good position for like sort of stealthy tanks, by the way. This little area in this like northern part of the map. If you knock this tree over as you're going over there, it actually provides a little bit of camouflage and cover, and that's kind of a strategy that I've like been employing lately. So definitely give it a shot, see what you think. I always, and see, he doesn't see me until after I fire. And then, oh, and I actually did not get spotted there, which is kind of surprising. Yes, see, still not spotted. Oh, I guess now I am spotted. But before I didn't, even though I shot the gun, that was weird. I guess I was closer to the tree or something like that. But yeah, it's very stealthy tank. It's one of the smallest tanks in the game as well, so you can definitely use that to your advantage, as I would recommend. Why is my view... I don't know, I think that was a replay bug or something. Not sure what was going on there. But see, using my size and my gun depression, I'm able to kind of harass this T-20, and unfortunately I overextended, but I get lucky. And this Centurion's probably pissed that I shot him a bunch of times, so he's coming over to finish the job, but there's still a few of us around here, and that STA-2 is flanking, so I need to stall this Centurion as much as possible. It seems that he's onto it though, and he's backing off, and I tried to get up this hill, but I don't know, didn't have enough horsepower, terrain was kind of impassable. Shouldn't be an issue in 9.14 now though, so at least there's that. But yeah, definitely, like, if you like tank destroyers, I would suggest this tank is definitely one of the better ones out there. And, you know, a pretty good premium overall. The Wargaming's kind of, like, released a lot of iffy and not so great premiums, but this one isn't up there. It's pretty decent. And actually, speaking of not so great premiums, the Kanonen Jagdpanzer, for example, this tank more or less completely nullifies it because it does just about everything that tank can do, but at tier 7. It doesn't quite have the top speed, and you know, it doesn't have the armor, but it's really like comparing, like, I don't know, paper to like fairly thick cardboard. I mean, neither one really has a lot of armor. Honestly, I'd rather have no armor than 30 millimeters of armor if the no armor gives me something else in return for it. And I think I might use some heat on this T-28 prototype. What are the drawbacks of this tank? Basically, as I mentioned, it has no armor. HP is fairly low. Speaking of lows, and I'm surprised that penned. I think I just got lucky there. What else? And I'm loading the heat now, and you're about to see... Did you see that? It just... I mean, I was pretty close to him, but it practically just, like, teleported there. What was I saying? The biggest pet peeve slash drawback slash like thing that absolutely infuriates me about this tank is the reverse speed. It tops out at something like 10 kilometers per hour, which is retarded in a tank like this. Whoever came up with that idea needs to be like not shot, but they need to be like severely inconvenienced. You should like spank them or something. I don't know what you should do to them, but it's This tank needs a good reverse speed so it can like peekaboo over ridge lines and stuff, but it doesn't. It has 10 degrees, which is just stupid. I don't know why they decided to do that. Fortunately, there's a strategy you can do. See how like I was mentioning that your gun arc is fairly wide? What you can do is aim to one side or the other as far as you can from your gun arc. And when you peek over a ridge line, you're doing it kind of at an angle. So you're moving both vertically and horizontally to the target, which makes it harder for them to aim. And in doing so, like when you back up, you get a little bit of time to get away while they're aiming at you because they have to move their turret to aim at you, and that'll like mess with their dispersion and stuff like that. Finally, just be very, very careful if you're going to be aggressive in this tank with being hauled down. Just make sure literally like, well, I can't show it to you like this, but when you're in your sniper mode, the spot that you're going to be shooting on the enemy needs to be like just above the ridgeline, so you're just exposing just your gun and nothing else, no more than you would need to expose. But it works. You can be aggressive in this tank. And that's why I like it. I don't necessarily like the kind of tank destroyers that are like relegated to camping a bush and just like sitting in one alleyway and like I was saying this has good accuracy, but that was a pretty iffy shot. But yeah, I don't like tank destroyers or like really any kind of tanks that are relegated to one thing. And like for tank destroyers, you just sit in one corner of the map, and like if enemies go there, you do well. If they don't go there, you do horribly. I don't like that. I like that I can relocate and do stuff and, you know, just make a difference in the game like I did here. Not a lot of damage, but the Top Gun's nice. Here's our after battle results. Top Gun, Ace Tanker. I did a tank destroyer mission. This tank's good at those too. I've done a lot of tank destroyer missions in this little tank destroyer. So yeah, I guess that's another little bonus. I don't know, just being accurate and fast aiming, having a fast shell velocity is really conducive to doing the missions that I found. Makes good credits, as you can see here. I really do a lot of damage, so I didn't get a ton of credits, but I kept most of it, like even firing one heat round. If I hadn't fired that heat round, I would have kept almost all of it. Because it's really cheap to run, that's another thing. The standard ammo doesn't cost a lot of money. So yeah, this is, you know, a pretty good premium tank, which is somewhat rare in wargaming, at least as of recently, but it's good. I would definitely recommend you buy it if you're interested in American tank destroyers. So go pick one up. And you know what? Like, if you don't know yet, go rent one. If you're on the North American server, you can rent one for a little bit, see if you like it. Throw one of your American tank destroyer crews in there. You know, pick it up if you think it's good. I would definitely recommend it, like without regrets. It's a good tank. If I haven't said that enough times already. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this. Let me know if you like this new video format. I'm trying to just sort of like keep up with what's going on in the game, so I'm not releasing reviews like way later than after the tank stops being sold. And of course they're going to sell them again, but you know, I like to help people out if they decide, because you know, it's definitely a factor for me if like whether or not I want to buy a tank. So yeah, let me know if you liked it. Leave a comment, rate it. And if you like this video, I'd really appreciate if you subscribed. Bye.